One of the hardest parts of a spiritual awakening is the rearrangement of your relationships, oftentimes beginning with a falling away of old friendships. Not just old friendships, but current friendships falling away. And it can feel like you have no real control, like there's no point in fighting it. It's just not there anymore. That connection, the synergy, you want it to be there. Maybe you keep going and seeing them and trying to rekindle it, trying to find it, but it's just not there. And it might be becoming harder and harder and harder to connect with them. Maybe you call them up and they're never around and you're playing phone tag and they text you. It might take a few days to get back, and then you text them. Then it takes them a week to get back. And there's just this growing distance. And you both feel it. You both feel it. You might be more consciously aware of it. Oftentimes that is the case, the person who's going through the spiritual awakening. But they feel it too. They're feeling not the same way they used to feel around you, and vice versa. But on paper, nothing's changed. You haven't wronged them. They haven't wronged you. You never had a formal falling out. And this phenomenon can happen with not just one person, but like most of your friends, if not all of your friends. And you can go from being one of the most popular cats around in town to being a complete loner. And it feeling like that's the appropriate thing for you right now. Now, interesting enough, simultaneously, you probably find yourself yearning for real human connection more than ever. That's what makes it so depressing, unfortunately. I'm not meaning to laugh about it, but it is kind of a cruel paradox I've found. Suddenly you realize that you need more love, more authenticity, more depth, more reciprocity in your relationships. And then as you're coming into this awareness, all of your friends, for one reason or another, are just not there anymore. And it's just you and your computer and your phone and your self-development and your healing and the books you're reading that you don't want to talk about. All your unusual, mystical, wild experiences that, my God, how cool would it be to talk about that with somebody who gets it? There's no one around. And I sort of am making light out of it, but it's not fun. It's no joke. I'm blessed to have a wife and I have 3 kids, so I have dogs over there snoring. Maybe you'll hear them. Sonny, my French bulldog, he snores. But I have a rich life of beautiful relationships, but I went for a very long time with no friends, no guy friends at all. Nobody to really relate with on certain levels. My wife listens. She does her best. My kids are, a variety of different ages, and I can talk to them on different levels, obviously, but there is something really unique about an actual friendship. And I had none to speak of for, probably 10 years. Not to scare you. Things happen a lot faster nowadays. You might not go that long, but it really, really started to wear on me. And this was quite a contrast because in high school I had a whole bunch of friends. We were like these knucklehead, party animal, druggy, types of kind of misfit. We had kind of a misfit group, but they were great friends. I to this day I look back at that time with just nostalgia and fond memories because it was just such a communal vibe. There were so many of us, and we were always hanging out with different combinations of each other, different friends, and it was just, I had an abundance of friendships. And then within a very short period of time after my spiritual awakening, it was just me and my wife, my little baby. And eventually a couple more kids popped out, and that was cool, but it started to really wear on me. So I wanted to make this video to kind of talk about it because things have finally come full circle, and I have friends again. And they're a different type of friend. Type of friend you're probably wanting a lot right now. And I wanted, if anything, to share with you not only my experience, because what's one guy, that's no big deal, one person, but I've also over the years, got onto YouTube, as you can kind of see, and I've coached thousands upon thousands of people. And this sort of tale I'm telling is not just mine. If you're watching this, obviously it's you as well. But I've seen the process, how it goes. There's a falling away. There's like an inevitable period where you are alone, and even though it does kind of suck, there's a purpose for it. You probably already sense that intuitively. And then there's sort of like an invitation to really like stand in your true selfness, to really be yourself and let your freak flag fly, which is hard. It can take some time, but at that point, you start to attract people who resonate with the real you, which is what I speculate to be the core of this whole situation. You know, most people, including your former self as well as mine, even partially my current self, is a highly conditioned, almost artificial personality. And I know for me, I went through a lot of my life with this not completely, but largely conditioned sort of fraction, like artificial personality is the best way I can put it. And this artificial personality, consequently attracted various people who like resonated with it. But then I had this spiritual awakening. It's like you, and this artificial personality started to kind of break down. And more of my true self started to kind of slowly bubble up to the surface. And all of a sudden, the real me realized some of the friendships weren't as close, real as I thought. And that in itself, that's the tough pill to swallow. You start to see different sides of people you've never seen before. You start to see to what degree are your friendships actually reciprocating what you bring to them, the integrity and the honesty and the care and the love and the investment you put in, is that being reciprocated? You'll start to see. And when you see it out of balance, then it becomes almost impossible to sustain, because it just all of a sudden you realize it's just not fair. And then of course people realistically don't often just change. You know, a lot of times people don't even know they're doing anything that's upsetting you or not fulfilling you, and it's a weird, kind of challenging conversation to have that I haven't had success with it, honestly. But anyway, that's one of the reasons you start to kind of pull away. You also might find that you're starting to kind of upset people unintentionally, where you're just being your real self. You're like, hey, I'm reading these books and I'm doing this thing and I have a new passion. I want to go back to college and become a psychologist, and that's super exciting to me. And your enthusiasm might make people feel a little bit like, wait, that's not you. You're not being yourself. And people start to feel threatened by, triggered by, sometimes, not always, or just off-put by you. Like, I don't know if I like you anymore. I don't know what it is about it. It's not what you're doing, but you just rub me the wrong way. And then you feel the same way about them. So for all these different reasons, it just has to do with your real self is now online. And if the majority of your relationship pool was predicated on, in a sense, a lie, on your unconsciousness, on your conditioning, on this artificial personality, well then it's sort of destined to fall away. And even though that might be the case, and you probably already sense this intuitively and understand it, like, yeah, it's for the best, it's time to move on. Sometimes it's also just time to move on. They say a friend is there for what? A reason, a season, or a lifetime, something like that. And sometimes it's just time to move on. And that's where the distance comes from. There's no ill will. There's no, oh, this friendship is no longer balanced and that's why I'm leaving, or there's no triggering of each other. No, it's just like, it's run its course. I've had this as well with some of my best friends I've ever had in my life. If I saw them right now, we'd probably pick up where we left off like nothing ever happened, but we just went on different paths. Like we're in different states, we're into different things, and it's just sometimes that happens with them as well. But anyway, it's a very universal thing that I went through and also witnessed in thousands of people, where eventually you find yourself virtually alone. Maybe one person or someone that gets you, or your dog or something. But for the most part, you're on this lonely, solo, spiritual path and journey. And man, you're going through so many things right now. You're having all these breakthroughs, all these insights, reading all these interesting things online and in books and things like that. and you just can't wait to talk about it, but there's no one around. So what do you do? What does someone do then, Vic? You've been talking a lot. What does someone do if this is the case? I can only really tell you what I've done and what has worked for me. One is to not fight it. Good luck forcing a relationship that's not meant to be there. You just wait for the fireworks. It's going to happen. There's going to be some kind of reflection of hanging on to something that no longer is really a fit for you. It's just, my buddy Kyle C says, if it's heavy now, it's just going to keep getting heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier until you drop it on your foot. I added that last part. But that's kind of how it is. So don't fight it. And secondly, it's not all bad. It's not like this horrible thing like I used to think it was. I used to think this is complete bullshit. It's not worth it. It's not worth, these spiritual insights to have no friends. I'd rather go back to who I was and have my buddies to chill with on the weekends. But it's not all bad. It's kind of a necessary thing. I found value in being alone so I could really decide and discover who I am. I thought I knew who I was before, but I was mistaken. It was this sort of identity that was layered over the top of my true self, which was now coming up saying, hey, this is who I am. This is what I really like. This is what I really resonate with. This is what I'm really into. And it's like a new relationship, basically, you have to tend to, and that's with yourself. And if you don't take the time to do that, if you don't use the time that life has seemed to have given you, if you relate with what I'm saying, then what you'll do is you'll unconsciously attract other relationships that will have the exact same falling away because they weren't really a match. You kind of rushed it maybe. I've done this too. There's still a match for the old you, and you can't fight, just like you can't fight these parting ways, you can't also fight the emergence of your true self. Eventually it's going to be so online, so present, it just won't work. So take the time. If you find it kind of feeling like forced to go out with your buddies or to go out and be social, then maybe that's exactly what the doctor ordered right now for you. And the more you can, in my experience, yield to the loneliness, the faster you can get to know the real you. And it's also important because there's also quite a lengthy phase for many of us of just ungroundedness. I know you might think you're ready to rock and roll and heal all your friends and family. Trust me, let the years go on and humble you and ground you. And when I first had my awakening, I thought it was my job to tell everyone what was happening with the world, with the government. The aliens are going to come and they're going to change things, and you got to raise your vibration because the planet's ascending, all this crazy shit. I would try to tell people, and it just fell on deaf ears. It just created awkward silences. It just made people concerned for my sanity, rightfully so. I was not coming from a grounded place. It was not appropriate at all to just start sharing all this knowledge just because I wanted to talk about it. So my point is, it's good. Also, all the healing. There's a lot of deep healing, a lot of deep trauma work that can go on for quite a while and still is going on with me as well. But for a time there, it can be kind of intense, and it can just make it honestly difficult to maintain healthy friendships without too much of your pain body and unconsciousness coming up at random times, sort of interfering with things and being projected on people. It can get real messy real quick. The alone time is a blessing. It's a gift. It's necessary. It's like you go and you get surgery and then you want to come home and go out and play baseball right away. You need the rest. You need to heal. You need to kind of integrate. And then when you go play baseball, it's going to be fine. Kind of the same deal. So yield, my friend. I'm not because I said so, but because you're telling yourself that. If you know it's the best thing for you right now, then how could that be wrong? Lonely and sort of, lonely, kind of sucky in its own way, but also appropriate. Now the next step, which you'll know it when it comes, is to really be yourself. I don't mean in your closet with your meditation crystals, be yourself. I mean like in how you live. You know, I've met a lot of people who kind of know who they are, pretty clear on what they want to do in life, fairly clear on their purpose, clear enough. But because it's scary, because it's unfamiliar, because they don't know how exactly to go about it, they aren't doing anything with it. You need to not only find yourself, but you also have to be, through your behavior, through your action in the day-to-day life, yourself. And at that point, you start to sort of demonstrate one who has found themselves. It's kind of like if you've been missing a key and you finally find the key, but you never unlock the door. It's just, okay, you got the key. The key does you no good if you don't unlock the door and set yourself free. Same thing. You can find yourself, you can have all this clarity, all this healing, but if you're still hiding from the world who you now know yourself to be, then don't expect to have any friends flocking to you vibrationally. It's not going to work that way. You got to go out there and be yourself. And what does that mean for you? What does that mean to be yourself? For me, it meant to quit my job. For me, it meant to move across the country, because that's what I wanted to be in San Diego. For me, it meant to get onto YouTube, even though it scared the daylights out of me. I'm a naturally very shy, introverted guy. To this day, I'm quite introverted, less shy, luckily. But it was very, very painful to do something I was drawn to be onto YouTube. But I did it. And it wasn't perfect. It was quite sloppy at times, but with courage and like discipline and just determination and just wanting to feel that alignment that I knew was sort of waiting on me to step into, I did it. I did it. And then I created this momentum, this like energy momentum with the real me. And not just, again, passively, but I was being the real me. I was a YouTuber. I had moved. I was acting like my true self. And at that point, through synchronicity, I started meeting people, new friends. Oh my God, and what an amazing feeling it is. I gave up. I literally came to terms, like it came to peace, at least in my head, with like, all right, you're just not gonna have any friends, whatever. It sucks, but you gotta live with it. I have a family, I'm blessed, I can't complain. Life is still pretty good. So I kind of gave up and just started doing my thing, singing my song, and bam. That's when my buddy Aaron Dowdy, another YouTuber, reached out to me. He just hit me up in an email or something, and we got on the phone. And I'll never forget to this day the conversation I had with him. I know exactly what it was about, which I'll spare you the details, but we spoke for about an hour. And I remember like once I hung up the phone with him, I was like, I felt like I had been beamed up with all this energy. It was such a match. It was so almost trippy talking to somebody who I clicked with on such a profound, energetic, and soul level. I couldn't believe it. I was like, how? I was like, man, you just never know what life's gonna throw at you. It was so exciting. Now we're close friends. We talk pretty much every day. And we've gone into business together. And also, because he's actually a more social guy than I am, so he's introduced me to a whole bunch of cool people. So I've definitely made a lot of friends since then. You know, now with the work I do, I have a lot of people I work with, all people I resonate with. And now my life is more so filled with many, many beyond Aaron. It's kind of just, that was just the beginning. But now I have all sorts of wonderful friendships and just relationships that are what I always sort of wanted, but didn't know I wanted until I went through all of that. So hang in there, my friend. Every part of this journey, whichever one you maybe relate with the most, maybe you're going through the falling away right now, or maybe you've been lonely for years and you're waiting. Maybe you've been lonely long enough and it's time to really be your true self. Whatever it is, the end result, if you do the work, is having like soulmate friendships, soulmate relationships, people that you can truly be yourself with, truly let your guard down, people who truly want the best for you and are excited for you no matter what it is you're into. Like the way I like accept my kids, like I don't care what they want to be when they grow up. I don't care if they succeed. I don't care if they're, homosexual or heterosexual. I don't care. I don't care about their preferences. I love them for who they are. I love them as unconditionally as a human could. And you can have friendships like that. I have friendships now like that. Thank God. That people who love me, people who I can call up and say, oh my God, I got the best news. This is happening, and they're genuinely happy for me. Or I could say, listen, I'm going through a rough time. Do you got a second? And they're like, of course I do. It's possible. But I had to let go first. I had to do the inner work. Still am. And then, most importantly, I had to become my true self in my behavior and my actions. I guarantee you, if you do all those things, you will not be lonely for too long.